Welcome to Empower Network TV. Today, Moonbeam or Cheyenne Moore will be tagging you in this so people can connect with you. ENTV today, you're in for a fun one. Tammy, Scarlett, and I are going to be co-interviewing Cheyenne Moore today. So, Tammy, welcome here.
Thank you very much.
And Cheyenne Moore, do you want us to call you Cheyenne or Moonbeam? What do you prefer?
It's really whatever you prefer. I love both.
Okay. Well, let's turn you loose because if you can just set the stage with what you just told us, and then we got a lot of questions to ask you, please.
Okay, I'll get through it as fast as I can because I sure do like to talk. So I'm a writer and a podcast host. My podcast is called Safe Space with Cheyenne. So we bring on all topics about the seen and unseen world. I was inspired to do it after my personal spiritual awakening, after I went through the series of events that I did and realized I'm definitely not the only one that has experienced this mass transformation in their body, mind, and soul. I started doing so much research that I'm like, people need to know about this, and I need to talk to people about this or people who have already experienced it, whatever's going on, right? So through healing modalities, any esoteric, metaphysical, again, unseen, seen, paranormal activity is what I really like to talk about. And, I'm even getting like writers, and I'd love to get musicians on eventually. My main goal for the whole show is for it to be a time capsule for humanity. So if you're like, you're kind of driving down the road and, maybe you're a Christian and you're told like all of these things that you see other people doing in the metaphysical world are bad or woo woo or demonic, but you're curious. So you can scroll through the whole catalog and you can just pick whatever resonates with you, like whatever episode you want to do.
Wow. Okay. So Tammy and I were both raised Christian. Tammy, correct? You were kind of came from, Tammy introduced me to the term Gus. She calls God, universe, spirit Gus. So I
Oh,
refer
I
to
like that.
Tammy coined it, not me. So
I love that.
yeah. So what you're talking about is the full context of what is possible and all the, and correct me if I'm wrong, all these boxes we were trained, the dogmas, whether it's the political dogma, the medical dogma, the school system dogma, religion dogma, they box us in. So are you trying to go all, you want to be open to all? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I like comparative research in religion, but also like theology and philosophy. I really do think that everyone's trying to say the same thing in a different way, minus like the perverted versions of things. But at the end of the day, I do think that it's all about unconditional love. But since us humans need to label and put a language and a description to everything, we're all just trying to translate it over and over and over the years. And one of the biggest things I found was if you want to study religion, you have to study war because that's the first thing they're going to go for when they come and take over your civilization. They're going to take your art, they're going to take your language, and they're going to take their religion and they're going to impose whatever they want on you, and they're going to burn anything that was you before they came in and took you over. One of the greatest examples of that is the Roman Empire and the Catholic Church that sits today. I was raised in two households. So one family, we were definitely Christian and we got to go to whatever church we wanted to. Well, I guess I should say my mother's family is Catholic, so we were in and out of that church to tons of different churches. And I was like, okay, everybody's talking about Jesus, but everybody's mad that, you know, they're talking about Jesus a different way, and we don't do Jesus like that. And Jesus, like, it was so confusing as a kid because I loved Jesus. I still love him to this day. He's like my main guy, but I don't follow the dogma of it or the fear-based God that we've been told our whole lives is like, you get one shot, and if not, you're going to hell. And I was just like, then I'm screwed at the age of 5 because I'm already rebellious. Like I can be like, please forgive me. I'm so sorry I talk back. But like I just wasn't buying it. I picked up on karma when I was really young. And I'm like, that makes sense to me. It like energetically, without knowing energy, like what you put out is going to come back to you. That makes sense to me. But that was not in our Bible, especially reincarnation. Not a thing. It was like, no, you get one shot. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've been here before because something just, it feels familiar in a weird way.
Cheyenne, this is amazing. Tammy, what do you got to say? What do you want to ask? Please.
Oh my goodness. Well, holy smokes, there's just so much. It's incredible. Like minds, definitely sitting here. Um, was there a time like before your spiritual awakening where you were even, in this space at all? Or were you still going to church? Were you still attending that sort of life? Or had you
Um,
sort of separated?
I mean, like if I went back home with my family, I would definitely probably go to church with my stepmom. It's such a cute little community. Like I'm not affected by like a sermon or anything. I'm not like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm not like that. I'm like a super open-minded hippie and I understand we're all on our own journey. So I wasn't, no, like I had moved away from home about 10 years ago. And even when I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, I got in with this huge church. It was like a mega church, something you see on like a movie. And I like the sermons, like they were good. I think they had a good message, but I still just think there's so much fear in the undertow of it that I was just like, I'm just going to take what's for me and then I'm going to leave the rest on the table.
Beautiful. Yep. Totally. That's awesome. Leading up to your spiritual awakening, did you have any idea that it was going to happen? Like take us those little moments just before that happened.
Oh, my favorite trippy part of the story. Okay. So in the hashtag terminology of spiritual awakening that you can go on Instagram and look at when you're trying to figure out if you're, going insane or something spiritual is happening to you. Um, it's called like basically the ego death, which is super temporary. I know people say it's like forever. It's not. It's super temporary. It's a breaking down of all that you are not or what you've built yourself up to be. So I had a career in restaurant management that I just happened to fall into in my younger 20s and started following it. And as much as I love the company, I was still pretty freaking miserable within myself about it. Like I bought myself a brand new car, so I would wake up in the morning and actually go to work. So I would have, if you have bills to pay, you're going to work, right? So I was doing kind of like the 3D humdrum American dream. Like I had the salary, I had the 401k, I had a career path, all that stuff. And I definitely think that I was like struggling with like, I can't believe I'm going to do this the rest of my life. I really thought that there was like more. I don't know what it was, but there was always like that tap. And I had been doing yoga since about 2013. So like grounding and like feeling my body and sitting on the mat was something that was like self-care to me, but it was enough to like revive me to go back into the work week, which was exhausting talking to a bunch of people being mad about you about their food or their schedule or like whatever. So I really lost that identity like 4 months before my wedding. Like I was like, oh, cool. Like I don't even know if I can maintain my lifestyle that I've built up now. I don't really know what I want to do. All this crazy stuff happened. So I'm like, I went to my bachelorette party in Colorado and I was just like, I was sitting in a hot tub staring at the mountain. I'm like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. I don't know who I am. I don't even know how to tell people like I'm that freaking lost because I felt so like I had failed, right? I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I told myself before I got home from the trip, like, I'm just going to dedicate the next year to finding myself, who I am, what I actually like, what I'm interested in, get all these like labels off of me. So I definitely set that intention without knowing intentions and speaking to the universe, right? Like it hadn't been returned yet. So I came home and I started doing restorative yoga, which is super slow and just you're really feeling your body and your trauma for the first time. And I had like expansive moments with just breath work in this. And I've always been a journaler. So it really helped to get a lot of that out. But I didn't realize all the things that had happened to me. So I realized I had like a lot of research before me. Um, And as far as like the activation of knowing like the day that it happened, it's kind of a weird lead up of synchronicities to being led to people giving me breadcrumbs like of this new path, right? And just noticing the energy and following the energy. And then I attribute like the energetic wake up, the heart chakra, to a really big moment of surrender after I got off of a, what is it called? It's called BioWell technology. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
So it's a machine that you scan your fingers and it will give you a printout of your energetic body in like
Oh.
so many different pages. So I had started with a birth chart reader and I cried in that office because I couldn't believe what the woman could tell about my life from a birth chart. My mother-in-law just happened to reference a psychic one day at a yard sale we were working at together. And she said, yeah, the psychic told me that you're an empath. And to me, I was like, I don't tell people this. This is a very like dark secret of mine almost, because I'm like, I don't know how to do it. Like it's a really big problem in my life. I pick up people's emotions that it just goes through me. I can't help it. So I knew that like the psychic obviously like had a site. So I'm like, I need to go see her. I need to go see her now. And she's like, oh, she only comes to town for like the show every once in a while. I'll see if she's in town. And I'm like, give me a sign, please. What am I doing? And she comes out of her house and she's like, she's in town and the show starts in like 2 hours. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, I'm listening. I'm listening. So I go and I talk to her and I have this extremely transformative reading where she brings out all of these repressed memories of things paranormally and supernatural that happened to me when I was a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally happening. But the same fair is where that BioWell thing was, where again, it scans and it's going to give you like a reading of the chakras in your body and so many different things. Like seriously, look it up on your own. You'll probably want to do it because it bridges spirit and science for the skeptic. Because I was super skeptic about all this stuff before I did all of my research. And now, based on my experience, I really have no choice to be a believer, like you just get flipped with the evidence in your direct experience. So, BioWell did. I had a big moment of surrender where I was like, please release this like plug off of my heart that I put on it. Take this armor off, get this shield off, get this ice off of me. Like, I know I'm under here somewhere. Just please, please, please. And in that moment, like my whole chest.
Cheyenne's
No,
coming
come
back. See, she just
Come back.
ENTVT. We're just getting teased. We're just getting teased. Cheyenne, we just lost you for 10 seconds. In that moment, my whole chest.
Am I back?
Yes.
You're
okay,
back.
great. In that moment, my whole chest opened like a tunnel of just expansion and love and bliss and kindness and gratitude and all of these positive feelings that were extremely fleeting in my life before. Like they would just come in and come out, and then like that cloud would come back, or that depression or that anxiety would come back. But I had never felt these things in my body before. And I was starting to feel them in the yoga class, but cultivating them on my own, I was definitely like, how are people happy all the time? Like without medication? I don't get it. I was like, what's going on? So my body opened up and I felt like I got all of these downloads without knowing what downloads were. And I had like seen stuff since I was a kid. Like my first paranormal experience was my great grandma dying and coming to visit me from the grave. And I ran down the stairs and I told my parents, Grandma came back, Grandma came back. And I described her outfit and her glasses and everything. And they're like, okay, but I'm a little kid. What are you going to do with that? So I just had like this whole timeline that I had missed, like it was dark, just pop up in my head. Like the best way that I describe it to people, if they've ever taken a psychedelic, is I felt like someone gave me shrooms without telling me, because I was just tapped into a really high frequency. And I'm like, I felt this before. I felt this happy. I felt this love. I felt this clarity. Like, what is this? So I went to bed that night. I had a couple crazy dreams that years later ended up coming true that still to this day freak me out how accurate they were. And when I woke up and rolled over to my husband, who I was marrying in 2 weeks, my voice was different. I was really calm. Like I'd meditated for 12 hours in a cave and came out and was like, we're all one. I love you. La la la. And I was like, I know this is going to sound really crazy to you because he's a very grounded, logical man. I said, I am literally experiencing a spiritual awakening in the format of a Kundalini awakening. So all of my energy centers are opening up at the same time. I'm literally connected with God. I don't believe I am God. I believe I've finally came back online was the best way that I could describe it. And then I had to get married between all of that. And obviously you don't go to your family and you're like, I just had a Kundalini awakening and my heart chakra just exploded and I just freaking love everybody. I still was definitely still trapped between my old identity, figuring out what this new energy was, even though it was familiar. Cause I should say in context, I had a small Kundalini awakening around the age of 19 and 20, which led me to do the same research that I did when I woke up. But when I was reading it, it was like Carl Jung and Alan Watts type stuff. And I was like, I really wish that I could understand this, but I do not understand this right now. So I dated it and I time stamped it for my future self back then. And I, to this day, couldn't tell you what made me do it. I was like, I know I'll be able to understand this in the future. So I'm going to hide this notebook away. And then however many years later, I pull my old notebooks out because I was like, I need old Shy to tell me what's going on. I need to find the notebooks of 19 and 20-year-old Cheyenne. And she's probably got some bangers in that notebook for me that are really going to help me out.
Cheyenne,
And I opened it. Yes.
Cheyenne, this is amazing. I want to ask you a question to help bring this, because you're telling us this story, and a lot of people have not had this thing happen. I want to throw this thought at you and get your thoughts on this. So there's a thought I've been throwing around in my own being, going, everything I yearn for is on it's beyond everything I'm unwilling to face. And there's this thing I'm considering going, if I'm not willing to question something, then that means I'm in fear. Then that means if there is gold on the other side of that rainbow, I'll never get it. So I've been training myself, I'm not there yet, but to question all the narratives I was taught, to see if, because I don't think truth is insecure. I don't think God or truth is insecure about me asking questions. So I want to throw this at you and go to the person that's not, they want to step forward and question because they're convinced there might be more than what they're in, but they're scared of stepping out of line in religion, medically, politically, fill in the blanks. What are your thoughts on that for someone that is just scared to take the first step?
I would say I was you too before I had the spontaneous awakening. If I were in that position, I would say surrender. If you already have a relationship with God, if you already have a higher power, all of these spiritualists that need to be demonized by other religions, they have a connection with the same God that you're sitting and talking to in a pew. It's the rhetoric from people that are programming you to push you away from your intuition. If you want to go to church and you want to be a part of community, that's great. But if you're sitting there and the sermon has something in it that isn't meant for you, you don't have to pick it up to feel like you're a good Christian. You can listen to your intuition going, hey, bud, that's not for you. That's not for you. Because there's really thick programming. You have indoctrination, you have generational trauma. Go down the list, right, of all of the stuff we carry in our DNA from our ancestors. It's a really big block. And not to mention what you said politically, friends, family, what will people think, yada, yada, yada. It's a fear state. It's a vibration that keeps you there, not wanting to do it. But when you have that knocking at your heart and that tap and, oh, that must be a coincidence. our world lives out of the left brain, which is the masculine, it's the reptilian, it's the oversight, it's the greed, it's the protector, it's the builder. That is everything, male or female. Work life is made for the left brain. The world is made that way. The right brain, where you have the creativity and the flow and the nurturance and the feminine, that is what has been suppressed in everybody, no matter what you identify as. So when we realize the mass awakening is really awakening of the feminine in so many different aspects. So ask yourself, when's the last time I felt safe? And you're going to feel really silly at first because you're like, what do you mean I'm safe? I have a house, my door's locked, my car's locked, I have money in my account, I have security, I have food in my cabinet. But like, that's how disconnected we are from our bodies, is when we ask ourselves, when's the last time I was safe? It's a silly question. We're so disconnected and out of line from all of these exterior forces and inner forces and programming. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on. If you don't want to take the step, live your life. It's okay. But surrender, for me personally, in my experience, was the first step, because my whole world shifted. And it's not like I was seeking enlightenment or spiritual awakening or anything. I was planning a wedding, for goodness sakes.
Wow. Tammy, where are you at with Cheyenne's fire hosing
One-
us with value?
Oh, nope. She's bang on. She's exactly in my own discoveries, my own experiences. Yeah, exactly right where she's coming from. Had all those experiences myself. I was going through health challenges, not planning a wedding, but I think it's also when you're not, if you have that intention, you've set that intention that, you know, I'm seeking, I'm looking, I'm asking. And that's all you have to do. It's just, that's how the door opens, in my opinion. It, you know, it just takes that little, I'm going to listen to that knock on my heart. I'm going to, what is that tap on my shoulder? To let us decide to open up. And that's all we have to do to begin, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Well,
Amazing.
Yeah, Cheyenne, after, can you drop any links you got for anything in the Facebook? I've already tagged you, but let's go to closing thoughts, Cheyenne, of how do you want to wrap this up here?
Well, I have one more thing for the beginners that really helped me in the beginning, because we all have intuition. We all have senses that we can't see. You know, you got little spider senses in your body that you use for everyday things. And if you're like, what does my intuition sound like? Like, how do I even find it? It's that voice that tells you your keys are on the counter when you're walking out the door. That is your intuition. The other voice that goes, oh no, it's fine, my keys are with me, that's your ego. So if you find the voice in your head that's your ego, that's probably driving your life, the intuition voice is going to be really small. It's going to be a whisper. So it's like neuroplasticity. You're going to have to build that trust with your intuition, and you're going to have to tell your ego to take a break and that you don't need protected like this all the time. It's going to split you. There is cognitive dissonance. It's not a pretty thing, but there are people like me and Tammy and even Amos out here getting the word out about all of these different experiences and providing this information for people so we can go, hey, something really is going on here that we were never told about for a reason. We must be really powerful. We must be really powerful if Satan wants us and AI wants us, right?
Well, you just went down a rabbit hole there. Are we just going to leave it like that without talking about any of that stuff?
I do like leaving cliffhangers on purpose, because when you're listening to an interview, certain things resonate with your body, and then you get to go do your own research. Like, I love researching for people, bring the information, bring the guest, giving all the links, but it's us at the end of the day that's going to sit down and we're going to find what is for us. And that's the best way to do it. If you have somebody else do it for you, you're not tapping into yourself and your intuition. That's why I really like cliffhangers.
Masterfully done. That was amazing, Cheyenne. All right, ENTV today, you have been listening to Cheyenne Fire Hose Us with Value. I've already tagged her. Cheyenne, please put any links in the comments. Tammy, closing remarks before we wrap.
Man, so much good information, so many like simple things for people to pick up. And I really appreciate that because it's hard sometimes to articulate that. And you've done a beautiful job. So thank you very much for your information and your beautiful heart.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheyenne. ENTV, we're out. Cheyenne, we'll just end it here and keep chatting.